Hey guys, it's me. I figured you probably need a little bit of help getting ready for your Unit 7 retakes. So here I am. I'm going to walk you through one of every problem type, just like I do in class. I'm thinking that because I couldn't find my webcam tripod that you're just going to see the top of my head while I'm working because I'm working on my drawing tablet. But whatever, we'll make it work. So we're going to start off with the first problem on the Unit 7 review packet. If you need a new one, they are on our Google Classroom. You can go to our classwork tab and go down to reviews, and they're right there. Or you can scroll back in our newsfeed until you find, I don't even know, it was the Monday before all this stuff started happening. So whatever that Monday was, go back to that day, and I've attached the copy with the examples and the answer key. It's right there too. So I'm just going to walk you through. If you know how to do that problem or this problem or whatever, you can skip through it. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but I just wanted you to have this as a resource in case you forgot how to do something, because it has been forever and ever and ever and ever and ever since I've seen you. So here we go. All right. So we're going to start out with our first problem. Our first problem says graph using a table. So I am going to be using the formula b over negative 2 times a, where a is the number in front of the x squared, b is the number in front of the x, and c is the number all by itself. So I'm going to plug in b, which is negative 4, over negative 2 times a, which is positive 1. Negative 4 stays on top. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And negative 4 divided by negative 2 is a positive 2. I'm going to take that 2, plug it in for x everywhere I see x in the equation. So 1x squared minus 4x plus 8. I'm going to drop that 2 in every time I see that for x. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator to type that in exactly as I wrote it with all the parentheses. If you don't use your parentheses, you're going to get the wrong answer. So we're going to type that in. 1 times 2 squared, where's my square button? There it is. Minus 4 times 2 plus 8. So I got 4 for my answer for that. So our vertex is the point 2, 4, which is right here on our graph. Now it does say we're using a table to graph, so we're going to make our table using our vertex in the middle, 2 and 4. And then we are going to pick x values that are near the 2. So remember, numbers that are smaller than 2 would be 1 and 0. Numbers bigger than 2 would be 3 and 4. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug those in to our original equation. So just like I did to find my vertex y, I'm going to find my other y's by plugging in those numbers. I kind of didn't give myself enough room, so I'm just going to write that work over here. Hopefully that doesn't bother you guys. I know I write a little big sometimes, but whatever, we'll make it work. I'm going to use 0 for my first one, and when I plug that in, I get 8. And remember, these two reflect. I'm going to plug 1 in for the second one. I get 5 for that. Remember, these two reflect as well. So then we plot our points. So my points 0, 8, 1, 5, 2, 4, 3, 5, and 4, 8 create our graph. All right, how to get this to move. There we go. Okay. Moving on to our next problem. The first thing that you have to look at for this one is if it opens up or down. So if it has a positive A value, it opens upward. If it has a negative A value, it opens downward. So for part A, we notice that our A is a positive 1. So positive 1, positive A means this one opens upward. Part B asks us for our axis of symmetry. That is the equation x equals whatever B divided by negative 2A is. So from our last problem that we just did, we're going to plug those numbers in, and it's going to give us that equation. Now remember, you lose points if you don't put in the x equals, so make sure you're writing the x equals when you do this. So x equals, B is 4 divided by negative 2 times A, which is 1. So 4 over negative 2 is negative 2. So your full answer for part B is x equals negative 2. I'll just box that one to help you. Part C, it wants the vertex. So the first part of our vertex is the negative 2. I almost missed that negative. The negative 2 from our original equation that we just did. Now I'm going to take that negative 2 and I'm going to plug it in for x here and here. So I have 1 times, oh, I wanted that to be pink. So I'm going to erase that. 1 times negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2 plus 8. And we're going to type that into our calculator. I get 4. So my vertex is negative 2, 4. So for part C, I guess, plug in your answer for B. And then your last piece, part D, is your y-intercept. The y-intercept is your C value. So we look at C. C is 8. Our y-intercept is 8. All right, describing transformations. This is what we do our 4-line setup for. So we have our 4 lines like this. Honestly, you're really only going to need these 2 lines for this particular test. So we're just going to work with those. Anything that's outside of those lines you can ignore on the review. I don't really need you to do that much. All you need to know is that a plus on the first line in the parentheses with the x here, a plus means you're going left. And a minus means you're going to the right. On the last line, a plus means you're going up, and a minus means you're going down. So I'm going to ignore the x and the square and only consider these 2 pieces. So I know a plus on that line means left 3. And a minus on this line means down 1. So the answer is left 3, down 1. Finding the roots or zeros by factoring. So this is where you'll need your factor chart. Yes, you do still get to use your factor chart. If you need a new one, let me know. I will send you a copy of it. I can put it on our Google Classroom too. I think that'll be easier. So your factor chart, finding your roots by factoring, this is where we do A times C at the beginning. We make our x, A times C on the top, and B on the bottom. So my A is 1, my C is negative 60, so I put negative 60 on the top. My B value is 4, so I put that one on the bottom. And then I'm going to remind you of the x's that you should have on your factor chart as it is, because we're going to be using those right now-ish, as soon as I'm done writing these at least. Let's see, that one, negative on top with a positive on bottom means I'm going to have a negative small number and a positive big number. Negative on top, negative on bottom means a positive small number and a negative big number. And a negative on top with a 0 on the bottom is a positive of the same and a negative of the same. Okay. Ours is a negative on the top and a positive on the bottom. So we are going to be using this one right here. That tells me I have a negative small number and a positive big number. I'm going to use the 60 from my factor chart. That says 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, and 6 and 10. Those are my factors of 60. I know that my negative number has to be the smaller of those two, so I'm going to make all these negative. And I'm going to add these together to see which one is going to create the positive 4. So if I added these two together, negative 1 plus 60 is 59. That's not the one that we're looking for. Negative 2 plus 30 is 28. Again, not the number I'm looking for. Negative 3 plus 20 is 17. Not it. Negative 4 plus 15 is 11. Getting closer. Negative 5 plus 12 is 7. And negative 6 plus 10 is 4. That's the one that we're going to use. So negative 6, positive 10. The next thing you want to do is you want to take your entire square term. That's the 1n. And you're going to write it twice. And you're going to use your side numbers. Ours negative 6 and positive 10. So 1n minus 6 is 1. 1n plus 10 is another. We're going to go back to our factor chart. We're going to look at the numbers for 1, the numbers for 6. We're going to look at the numbers for 1 again in the second pairing and the numbers for 10. And we're looking for the biggest number that they have in both lists. So for this first one, I'm dividing by 1. So I got 1n minus 6 when I divide both those numbers by 1. These ones, also dividing by 1. And for your last step, you're going to take each one of these. So n minus 6, 1n is the same as n. And n plus 10. And you're going to set them equal to 0 and solve for your variable. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. I get n equals 6. I subtract 10 from both sides. I get n equals negative 10. And we're done. That was kind of long, huh? But there are so many more. If you recall correctly, I told you guys that you did not need to do 27, 28, 29, or 30. And I also told you that you did not need to do 33 because those numbers come up different, as in higher than your factor chart goes. So I'm not going to make you do those. But we are going to do the rest of these types. I will do number 31. So number 31, I have, let's get some colors up in here. A, B, C. So A times C at the top of our X. B on the bottom of our X. 7 times 1 is 7. Our number on the bottom is negative 8. Just a reminder, if you have a positive on top and a negative on bottom, both of your sides are negative. So we're looking for factors of 7, 1 and 7, where if they are both negative, we'll add to make -8. Well, we only have one option, so here we go. We're going to use -1 and -7. We're going to take our square term, 7k, and put it in both parentheses. And we're going to put in our -1 and our -7. And for these ones, we're going to be looking at the numbers for 7 and 1. And also 7 and 7. So for my first group, 7k and -1, the highest number they both have is a 1. So this grouping is going to stay as 7k minus 1. In our second one, they both have a 7, so we're going to divide both numbers by 7. So 7k divided by 7 is 1k, or just k. -7 divided by 7 is -1. And now we're going to take each piece. 7k minus 1 equals 0. 1k, or just k, minus 1 equals 0. And we're going to solve these for their variable. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. I got 7k equals +1. Divide both sides by 7. K equals 1 over 7. You can leave it as a fraction. You can put it as a decimal. I'm smart enough to figure it out, right? For our second one, we're going to add 1 to both sides, and I get k equals +1 for our other answer. Almost done, guys. 2 more. All right, number 39 says find the value that completes the square. That's that perfect C value that we want to look for. And then rewrite it as a binomial squared. So to find our value that completes the square, move this down a little so I can write it. That is where we do b divided by 2 and square it. And then rewriting it as a binomial squared, that's where you take your variable. And then it's either going to be a plus or a minus. And it's b divided by 2, just that straight up number, not squared, because the square goes on the outside of the binomial squared. So I have a is 1, b is 4, and c we don't know because we're trying to find it. So my b value is 4, so we're going to do 4 divided by 2 and square that. So 4 divided by 2, that's 2, and 2 squared is 4. So that 4 is our perfect C. We're going to put that there. And then for our second part, we're going to put our variable, which is r, and our b divided by 2 number, that one is a +2. And we're going to say that's squared, and those are our 2 answers for this problem. All right, so this one's going to be our longest problem, I think. We're going to solve by completing the square. So when we want to solve by completing the square, the first thing you have to do is get all of your x's on one side and all of your flat numbers on the other side. So I have a flat number 54. I'm going to add that to both sides to get my x by itself. So -3 plus 54, that's 51. Okay, now off to the side, we're going to do what we did in our last problem. We're going to do that b over 2 squared thing. So our b value is -14. We're going to divide that by 2 and then square it. So -14 divided by 2 is -7. -7 squared is +49. So we're going to have one number there. We're also going to write our binomial squared. So we have our variable, which is x squared, and our number that let me get some highlighter up here. We'll use yellowy color. Here we go. That number is going to go right here. So we're going to use a -7 here. And then we're going to do one more highlighted color for that one, the 49. That 49 we're going to add to both sides of our equation. So I'm just going to kind of leave a spot there for it when I rewrite. So I've got x squared minus 14x plus the 49 is equal to 51 plus the 49. Okay, you're going to simplify that. These two turn into 100. And these three terms, we get to do our shortcut because we know how to factor using the x and dividing out the GCFs that we did in earlier problems in our review. We're going to use our shortcut, and we're going to use this right here. So x minus 7 squared equals 100. And to get rid of a square, we need to take a square root. So the square root cancels the square. And when we do a square root on the other side, remember you got to do a plus or minus. Got it. So that left me with x minus 7 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 100, which we know is 10. And then you're going to set up two equations. You're going to set up one where x minus 7 is a positive 10. And you're going to set up one where x minus 7 is a negative 10, because that's what plus or minus means. Then all you have to do is get your variable by itself. So 10 plus 7 is 17. And here, negative 10 plus 7 is negative 3. And then you're done. All right. So that concludes our review. If you still need questions answered, please feel free to let me know. Email me, whatever. My Google Voice number is on the front of all of your notes packets. So if you need to text something to me, that's the way to do it. But I miss you guys, and I hope this really helped you guys. All right, well, see you next time.